Now, Republican Senator James Risch of Idaho. He's a key member of both the Senate Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committees. Senator, thanks very much for joining us. And I want to talk to you about what ISIS is doing, the threat from ISIS here at home and abroad. But first, I have to ask you about this massive cyber attack on the U.S. government, the federal government. First of all, I know 4 million federal employees, current and former, have been impacted by this. Does this include staff members up on Capitol Hill, including members of your own staff?
Wolf, it doesn't. The report we have is that it is affecting only members, only employees of the executive branch. So it would probably exempt ours, but that's a small number compared to the number of employees in the executive branch.
But if you have members of your staff who used to work in the executive branch, whether the Department of State or the Department of Defense or whatever, they may be impacted by this, right?
Right, no question about that.
So it's believed that the Chinese are doing this cyber attack, amassing huge databases of personal information about Americans. Do you have any idea why they're doing this?
You know, there's a lot of speculation, Wolf, on why they're doing it. I think the first thing that needs to be determined is exactly who is doing it. The question that you asked right at the beginning is a question we always ask in the Intelligence Committee when we get a report like this, and that is this state-sponsored, or is it a commercial operation, or is it some kid sitting in his basement just playing? And unfortunately, you can trace it back to China. But beyond that, it's impossible really to pin it on anybody, at least at this point. And as you know, the official response of the Chinese government is that they didn't do it, and of course they would say that. But before, I know you talked about a retaliatory action, before you even think about anything like that, you really need to determine who is specifically responsible for this.
Yes, because basically the information we're getting here at CNN from U.S. officials is that China did, in fact, not just some Chinese hackers, but Chinese hackers working for the Chinese government or the Chinese military were directly responsible for this enormous hack over these past several months. So it's not just some kid in the basement. This is a deliberate act by the government of China. That's the information we're getting. Are you telling me, Senator, you're getting different information? You can't confirm that yet?
Yeah, Wolf, I wouldn't say that I'm getting different information. How I would phrase it is we are not getting the information that does confirm that. I would question the veracity of someone who said that they could specifically trace this back to the Chinese government. I'm not saying they're not doing it. I'm just saying that I think that that may be a little bit premature. Having said that, you and I have talked about this before, that there are thousands of attacks on the U.S. government, on U.S. businesses, on U.S. individuals coming from foreign countries, some state actors, some non-state actors, every single day as we're sitting here and talking. There's attacks going on right now, and I really believe that the next incident in America is going to be a cyber incident. We all know what can happen if you can shut down the internet and shut down all of the cyber world, particularly for any length of time. It would be a very, very serious problem.
All right, Senator Risch, we have more to discuss, especially what's going on with ISIS in Iraq and Syria. We'll take a quick break. More with Senator Risch when we come back. We're back with the Republican Senator James Risch of Idaho. He serves on both the Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committees. Senator, we saw earlier this week police in Boston shoot and kill a man who was believed to be planning a knife attack on law enforcement. We also know that at least one of the men connected to the plot, the alleged plot, had been in touch with ISIS fighters overseas. Do you know if ISIS had a direct involvement in this Boston plot?
Yes, I do know, but Wolf, I really can't go into the details on that. You'll recall some weeks back when I appeared here on your show, I told you that they had moved from, that is, ISIS had moved from just aspirational motives to actually going to operational. We're seeing the effects of that right now. 1 month ago today, of course, there was the attack in Garland, Texas. Tuesday, of course, the law enforcement shot and killed a man in Boston who was actually in the process of carrying out an attack. They didn't let him get very far with it. Both of these are feel-good success stories for us here. Our intelligence community is doing an excellent job as far as staying on top of these things. Unfortunately, as you know, we have to be right 100% of the time. All we can do is pray that they continue to do as good a job as what they're doing. But look, when it comes to ISIS, they're doing their best using social media to inspire people in America who are so inclined, who are foolish enough and who are vulnerable enough to buy into their philosophy and theory. They're doing their best to inspire them, and indeed they're getting more bold on social media as far as giving specific direction to people for times, places, and individuals that they would like to see attacked. So this is serious. It's getting more serious all the time. We've got to continue to ratchet up our response to that. I can give the American people absolute assurance that we are ratcheting up our response to that, and we're going to continue to do so to meet it head on.
I just want to be precise as much as you can tell me, Senator, is it your understanding that someone in ISIS directed Osama Rahim, the man who was shot and killed by Boston police and the FBI earlier this week, they directed him to go out to Amazon.com and purchase 3 large military-style knives to go ahead and kill police officers and also behead Pamela Geller?
You know, Wolf, I really can't get into the details of that. I think probably you've already reported some of the open source reporting that's been on that. Certainly, the proposed victim was specified by ISIS. How that was done directly and beyond that, I really can't go into it. It's classified, but they're getting more bold in identifying targets, dates, and methods of how they want to see things done. And unfortunately, I think we can only expect that that's going to increase rather than decrease.
Very quickly, more than 3 individuals involved. We know there are 2. One is dead, one is arrested. They're looking at a 3rd suspect. Are any other suspects connected to this Boston terror plot out there?
Again, Wolf, if I go into that, I'm going to be disclosing things that are classified. But again, let me assure you that the intelligence community is on top of these things, and they're using every tool they have in the toolbox to connect the dots whenever they can, and they're going to continue to stay on top of it.
Senator Risch, thanks very much for joining us.